Good evening, Athletic Training Now podcast participants. We have three guests today with us. I'm Jan Clifton-Gaw, your host. We have Adam Young, we have Shelby Gonsar, and we have JCG, my favorite West Coast athletic trainer. Giselle's going to give us a great perspective tonight, I believe. We are doing a book group discussion tonight over Leaders Eat Last, and I know that's interesting. And we really wanted to dive into the question tonight of why do we even have leaders? What's the point of that? And I think opening up the things that really struck me about this section and that question specifically was for us to survive and thrive as a species or community or an entity, an organization, a school, corporation, a team, whatever it is, we have to have someone that fosters safety. I've worked for an organization that did not foster trust at all. And the leadership seemed to be doing what they were supposed to be doing and was very less than ethical. Let me just say that. And it really created some rifts when we had to do a model change of our business practices, and the whole thing blew up. I'll just say that. So I guess my question of you guys is, what do you consider to be the most important things to help foster that faith in each other? What's driving us biologically to do that?
I feel like for me, kind of creating like a safe and positive work environment. One of the chapters that really stuck out to me was chapter 7, where it kind of talked about stress levels and cortisol, and how if you're really stressed, your cortisol levels in your body increase, which inhibits oxytocin, and oxytocin is the hormone that allows for us to share empathy. And I think empathy is really, really big in athletic training and other healthcare professions. And I feel like, I know for me, like I notice on days like sitting and reflecting back on it, like days where I'm like super stressed, I find myself not being as empathetic, not being as like lighthearted and open to hear kind of the patients that I'm working with, like their problems and like what they're going through. I'm just not able to respond in that best way if I'm like super stressed. So I think leaders creating a positive work environment and doing everything they can kind of to focus on that and decrease cortisol and decrease stress overall benefits our patients.
I think it benefits us too, Shelby. It benefits us too, and our livelihood and how we feel about things. Anyone else?
So I really liked his unique perspective, starting from a biological foundation to that goes into a sociological problem, right? And then a good leader would really consider the chemicals in everyone in his team, right? Like on his team. So, and also according to the author, and he thinks that a leadership is the choice to serve others with or without formal rank. So a leader would sometimes forego his own interest and then for the greater good, but sometimes we don't really see that in reality, right? Sometimes it's the opposite of what he's like says in the book, right? Sometimes the leader kind of just goes for his own interest, and it's a complex problem, and I don't think sometimes it doesn't reduce to a biological perspective. So I don't know what you think, like what everyone thinks about this, this problem.
My mind goes back to the Greatest Generation, so that the individuals who were adults during World War II and how they totally remodeled their lives for the greater good, and we just don't do that here. And as athletic trainers, I think we're like this unicorn amongst cheetahs or something, because everyone else is out for themselves sometimes, and here we're trying to solve everybody's problems. So yeah, it doesn't fit in a big perspective, but maybe in our athletic training world it does. I don't know anybody else.
I think too, like sometimes like Jan, you might be better at things than I am, and maybe you're the assigned leader, but there's a task that I'm maybe better at handling or better at leading with. I think there's like ebbs and flows of leaders and leadership, and I think that sometimes when we like box ourselves into like Jan's in charge, we might get afraid to step up, or like different things like that, where maybe somebody might be better fit to handle that task or whatever is at hand.
Well, I think in athletic training position, the leaders and the followers, they're interchangeable. I can lead one time, another can lead another time. Depends on, it's situational dependent. That's my belief. There's some people that are dopamine dominant, which are leaders, and there's some people that are serotonin led dominant, which are the followers. Some people like to lead, some people like to follow. We're not quite follow. I can use give direction to do the task. So on that note, my perspective on why we have leaders, we need someone to organize and direct. We need to navigate the task to get the job done, because everybody's going to sit there and round around in circles, possibly doing the same thing, and different tasks needs to be done to accomplish that end goal, right? So leaders, not everyone is chemically balanced. Not everybody's able to balance out that dopamine and that serotonin level to actually get not only a good response, but be effective and also be focus driven, and end goal is to be successful. So you have to delegate tasks. Someone's going to have to do that task that's delegated to them. It's not a power trip most of the time, but something that needs to be done, and someone needs to lead it. Otherwise, we're going to sit there and do the same thing in circles. And also, when we were kids, we had to do chores. We had to get convinced to do chores. We got allowances. At adults, we also still need to be convinced to do a big task. And also, we're trying to be on that promotion track. We need bonuses. It's money driven. Something always has to drive us to do this, right? So that become, leaders and the followers. I call them followers because that's what my motto is. Always be a leader, not a follower. Because one day you're going to have to delegate some tasks to get what you need done. So we must remember that also some that a ceramic cup scenario, that cup can be taken away at any given moment. You can be up leading, you can fall the next day because you might have slipped up and done something. Okay, leaders can fall too, not only the followers. Leaders can fall. So that's my 2 cents on that.
That was really powerful. Really powerful. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, so I think one of the things I learned from philosophy is someone said power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So it's a little pessimistic view on power and leadership, and sometimes as leaders we need to be aware of our own desires or our own self-interest versus the interest of the group. So
I think because so many of us work in an independent setting, we don't have that system of checks and balances where you have I'm going to call it a gatekeeper. Ultimately, do we need leaders? I think G hit it with, we've got to have somebody organize big items, or things aren't going to happen well. I think a lot of us are very self-regulated, but most people aren't. So that's another thing to consider. Does anyone else have anything to add in our last moments?
Real quick. In the high school setting, the parents try to become the leaders, and we need to shut that down. We have to step up and make sure that we stay in the lead in our profession, because we are the professionals, and we got to maintain that lead and not just give it over because you don't want to do it. So we also have to maintain that balance in what we're leading and what we're doing.
Gotcha. On behalf of my guest panel tonight, thank you for listening to Athletic Training Now. Good night.